Streamer fell off? Yeah, okay. F you. Kind of rude, but okay. Yeah. So, and you guys heard about the whole you fell off plus L plus ratio, all that, right? Today we're gonna be talking about that whole joke, you know, the you fell off plus L plus ratio. And the reason we're gonna talk about it today is because I personally think it's kind of fucked up to say. Don't get me wrong, it falls in line with that whole joke of like self-deprecating, so it's funny. Like it basically is of that same essence where it's a self-deprecating joke, and that's why people laugh because, you know, there's a little bit of truth behind it. But I think that some jokes, you know, if they bring in kind of a dark subject and there is dark humor, I think that you should at least be aware of the dark humor aspect of it and why it is dark and what makes it dark so that you just don't say it ignorantly and you understand the weight behind the joke that you're making. Because I still think it's fine to try and be funny and make ha-has, but like there are probably a ton of like little 12-year-olds yelling at their content creators being like, you fell off, Nick Merckx not playing Warzone. Falling off, not my streamer. And something like that, when it's said ignorantly and not ironically, can have really serious issues on not just content creators, but people themselves. Because I'm sure that even you guys and anybody in their private life have had moments where they feel like they're falling off. I think in the real world, that's called a midlife crisis. or when your hairline starts receding. When you're getting older or when you're done peaking, you know what I mean? The idea or the phrase you fell off plus L plus ratio is most of the time in reference to an artist or someone of craft who creates something that other people can consume. That's normally what it's in reference to. The first thing we're going to talk about is why it's funny to say that. And I'm going to read my notes here because it's a little bit more difficult for me to articulate it naturally just because I did rush this last night. It's funny to say you fell off plus L plus ratio because it's kind of funny in an ugly way to punch downwards. When we as a viewer see a decline in numbers or a perceived fall from relevance, it is morbidly funny to be like, hey, you suck, you fell off, plus ratio, plus L, plus E Rob made you, plus the hood watches Hassan now. And there's more of a psychological background to that, but we'll get into it. It's a type of joke that walks this fine line of deprecation where you're very openly expressing your observation of failure. You are doing worse. I am going to point it out, but it's usually said in a way that isn't so serious that it's not meant to be taken that way. So it walks this fine line of like, yo, this is bad. I'm going to point out the pink elephant in the room, but don't take it seriously, man. It's just a joke. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it's funny because of the saying, there is truth behind every joke. Because there is. That's what makes a joke funny, when there is a little bit of truth to it. There are some humor types that are just straight up absurdity and aren't true, but a lot of jokes are funny because there is that little bit of truth in the background that makes them real. The problem is the truth behind you fell off plus L plus ratio is actually a little bit dangerous. And we're going to show a video right now. Well, two videos right now that kind of back that point up.
Ninja is falling off according to a lot of people. Ninja has switched platforms, switched games, and everything in between, but it seems like not a lot of people are realizing that before passing judgment. And XQC is not standing for the analytic Andes as he defended Ninja on a recent stream.
He went from around 250,000 subscribers to just 6,500.
Yeah, this is why I don't like when your analytics Andy stats this, stats that. If they were really to go about the statistics of it, you would have to make a comparison about the popularity of Fortnite on YouTube and on Twitch, popularity of mixers who transferred and their decline ratios, and make a comparison between both ratio of decline on both ends on the game when they used to play, and now all he does is project his stats into that because it's his failure and it's his lack of success when there's a lot of things that are around it that are super tangible.
So yeah, the analytic Andes, the people that point off that you fell off plus L plus ratio, right? The people that are there to be like, haha, you suck, Fortnite fell off. Those are the type of people, right, that usually make this joke. And a lot of those people who don't say it ironically are kind of the people that we're going to be talking about today. And XQC makes a good point. There is a lot going behind what happens when somebody falls off. I mean, imagine if we want to talk about from a numbers perspective, someone falling off, Ninja is probably one of the greatest examples. That's not to say that he is not and was not one of the greatest content creators to ever walk the planet, at least for a period of time, right? Because he was, and that's not taking any credit away from him. The guy went from having the world record of most subscribers ever in a month on Twitch, around like 250,000. And if you were to compare it to apparently what he is averaging now, which is around 6,000. you know, this is what that joke calls a ratio. If you were to compare 1,250,000 to 30,000, I don't think there is a content creator on the internet that would look at them then and them now and have more of an internal struggle to deal with than Ninja. Because let's think about it right now. If you are Ninja and you have a bunch of people talking about numbers and your metric for success is determined by your number, how do you think Ninja feels right now? You think Ninja's okay? You think someone should maybe called Ninja he's crying? You don't think that if that's how he and or other people value him, you don't think that he might be feeling some type of mental struggle from that? Maybe a little bit. If Ninja is measured by the value of his number, then he's gonna feel like a 40th of himself. He probably feels like 1/40th of whatever content creator he was, if that is how he measures his value. And so it is a very direct confrontation to measuring yourself. I mean, I'm sure you guys are already aware, but what happens when you start comparing? When you have to start comparing yourself to other people or you in the past when you were doing better? How does it feel? You go on Instagram, you see someone who's on a yacht with a hot girl with money and bands just falling out of his pockets, and you're sitting there in your room underneath your blanket and you have laundry on your chair that you haven't done yet. It's a dangerous joke to make because comparison is not something that ever leads to a happy, positive mindset. And when you start to go through that negative spiral of thoughts, because one negative thought doesn't come alone. When you're sad, the negative thoughts travel with a family. They have their briefcase and all of their kids and children lined up with them in the back, like little ducklings running down the road. Oh, look, honey, look at all the little negative thoughts entering my mind. That's how it goes. Right? There is something else to talk about, or there's another perspective I want to show you guys for what happens when a content creator is suffering from or feeling or looking at themselves falling off. So for those of you that don't watch Ludwig's podcast, The Yard, I watch an episode once in a while and they're normally pretty good. But there was one section in here that touched on streamers being depressed.
Streamers
pack watch
depression. So I was talking, like I've talked to a few streamers. I talked to XQC, Hassan, Mizzy, in my own feelings, even Saikuno, and I realized that every single streamer will readjust how they feel about how they're doing, like very quickly. So if they're like 10K Andy, like, you know, everyone was at one point, and then they jump to 20K Andy, they'll be like, oh, that's really exciting. It's cool. Novel. And then they will immediately, like within a week, be like, I am a 20K Andy. Anything below that is bad.
Oh, yeah.
And then they'll be like, if I just hit 30K, I'll be happy.
It's called there's a lot of aspects here. One is called the disease of more. You just need more and more and more to fill the void, especially if you drop below some sort of watermark that's arbitrary.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really fucked up. Gambling's the same way. I would know.
What's funny is there's always a number though that they'll be like, if I hit this, I will be happy. Like if I can just consistently get 30K viewers, I'll be happy. And
the American dream. If I have this, I'll be happy.
All of them, the answer is no. Like even XQC, the biggest streamer on the platform, I remember during ShitCon, he was like 110K, like GTA RP, just killing it. Then he would like drop down to 60. You know, he's streaming at like midnight to like 7 a.m. degenerate schedule. And then he was at ShitCon. He's like, yeah, I'm fucking washed, dude. Like, I got no content. And it's like, he's mostly saying it in like an ironic way, but I think he like part of him like sees the night. He's not blind. He sees the numbers. So they're all depressed and all thinking about it.
Are you depressed?
No.
That's what happens, right? You have people like XQC, the #1 streamer on the fucking website, the entire website, who has more viewers and more money than anybody else by themselves. If we're looking at numbers, even he doesn't feel good about himself. Even he thinks that he's falling off. And if #1 thinks that he's falling off, who is safe? If we're going to use numbers as our metric for success, I think literally everybody on the platform is depressed. If that's how we're going to look at it, literally everybody, unless there's another way to look at it. Before we say there's another way to look at it, what I want to talk about are some of the consequences that happen because of that depression and because of that comparison and because of that constant drive and even encouragement from Twitch to continue to do more, to continue to do better, to sit there, do more hours, farm more PogChamps, get more subs, and sit there and grind yourself to the bone so that you never have to experience the phenomenon of you fell off. Did you guys read the Tyler One article? I believe it was the New York Times. I believe it was them. It was a journalist. He stayed with Tyler One for 24 hours to kind of get an idea of the lifestyle of a streamer. One of the things they talked about amongst Tyler One seemingly struggling to get up and get ready to stream, as they described it as he was basically getting ready to go to war to press that go live button. Imagine something as simple as clicking this was equated to him going into a f***ing battlefield, which says something about you guys, by the way. I'll say it, the C word, chat. That's something to be said for you guys, but that's a topic for a different day. How is something so simple seemingly so hard for another massive content creator who makes tons of money, who is also super successful? My point is this comparison game. And one of the things they also talked about in that article was they noticed that Adderall was on Tyler One's desk. And this is something I'm going to talk about that I can't really source to a specific article, because if this was ever put out there publicly, it just wouldn't be out there publicly. There are lots of content creators that I know that continue to use drugs or alcohol to make streaming just a little bit easier. And that's not specific to streaming. That's everything. People struggle in life, and then they start looking for ways to deal with that struggle. Some people go to therapy, some people take up yoga, some people try eating healthy foods, going to the gym. But a lot of times, majority of people have serious amounts of caffeine to the point where it is unhealthy. More extreme than that, they turn to drugs that they, to be honest, in America are very easily able to get a prescription to, and then oftentimes drugs that they may not be prescribed to, and drinking for reasons of just being able to withstand a stream. That is crazy to me that someone goes that far where they literally cannot be themselves in order to do their job. Does no one see a problem with that other than the obvious health issues behind it? And no one come in here with the glass of wine a night is proven by doc. Like, shut the up. I think we're all aware of what that escalates to if you almost every single day have to rely on a substance. If you drink a shot every single night to get you drunk, it's not just going to be one shot. Like, eventually you're going to up it to 2, eventually you're going to up it to 3, and it just spirals, right? It just spirals. That's how it goes. Negativity always follows the same pattern, similar to a toilet bowl, straight downwards, and it just keeps going. And so if you guys can't see with content creators, and there's some very extreme examples, what happens to them when they are constantly feeling this pressure to do more, do better, perform harder, react harder, PogChamp more, and make more Pog content, we know what happens. And that's unfortunately the nature of the content job in general. I mean, take a look at what Mr. Beast is doing. You don't think every other content creator on the internet feels an immense amount of pressure because of the expectation of content that Mr. Beast has created? Of course they do. You think I feel good about uploading a video about me making one song in one stream when he just dropped $1 million as like prize pool for a video that he made in like a couple days? I don't. And so in a world and in a job where you feel more and more pressure to do more and more, and you can't handle it, and you start leaning towards substances to deal with that. And I know that is a massive jump from you fell off plus L plus ratio, but that's what I'm trying to get at. If you're going to use humor that touches on and draws from the truth of the dark nature of it, you should at least be aware of that dark nature, because telling a joke like that should at the very least come with an understanding of why we use it or why we say it. And if we are saying it, please at least have the brain cells to say, I mean it ironically. Please at least have the brain cells to say, I mean it ironically, because that shit can go way dark if it's left untouched or unchecked for a long period of time. Now that we've talked about the consequences of this joke and the nature of what it draws from, the one thing I do want to talk about is how to stay relevant. And this is advice that I'm speaking because I need to say it to myself, because I need to be aware of how to stay relevant before I fall off so hard. No one's going to show up anymore. And there is another clip I want to show you that actually is from Tim Tapman's stream, which will give you kind of an idea of what we're talking about.
As a content creator, you cannot let viewers control your life ultimately. And what I mean by that is you can't let people sit there and say, dude, why would you not do this? You have to do what you have to do for you. It doesn't matter about the other people in that point. If it's better for you to play a certain game and you're happier, play that game, man. That's bottom line. And there's this weird group of people that are so obsessed with numbers, and they're like, oh, dude, Nick Merckx, man, he's not playing Warzone anymore. He's falling off. If falling off is being a multi-millionaire with 20,000 viewers playing what he wants to play, I think those same people would sign that same contract. So
Ever noticed how the people saying, "Oh, you fell off," are the people that never fell on? Dude be streaming tonight, bot spamming you fell off.
yeah, facts. I mean, shoot. At least I got people in my chat to say that I fell off, right?
True. The dudes be out here streaming to Nightbot only, telling other streamers they fell off. There are people on the internet who literally stream to Stream Elements, Fossabot, and Nightbot, telling other people, "Hey, buddy, remember your glory days?" Like, it's ridiculous. I can't believe that shit exists. The saying "you fell off" also is said by people, unironically, who also have this weird fetish for numbers. This number fetishism that exists today is it's unhealthy. It's not good. It really isn't. And I'm not saying that numbers aren't important, because they are. The sad reality of this job is, and any job, you have to look at the numbers. You have to see where things are going, especially over a long period of time, because it paints a picture. It is an indicator of, hey, people like this more, people don't like that more. And then you have to find within yourself, okay, is there a balance within that spectrum where I can exist, where I don't want to put a bullet in my brain or be drunk every single night for a stream, and still make a living. Devin Nash has has said in at least one of his videos, and I wish I could pull it up, but I remember this quote, is that the average lifespan of a content creator is 4 years. That's the average lifespan. You know why? Does anybody know why? Basically, what all of you have said just now is that there is different shit that happens. Life changes. Life is not the same. And it sucks to hear that, but things change, man. I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago. Are you? A lot of you guys say no, because you're not the same person. Your likes change, your views change. You as a human, you change. People's tastes change. You're not going to eat the same pancake every single morning, even if it's your favorite, because you're going to get f***ing sick of it. That's the nature of humanity. When people say things like "you fell off" to Nick Merckx, who is signed a whatever $1 million deal with Twitch, who's like, yeah, I'm not going to play the game that I'm really popular for anymore. It's because these people that are able to stay relevant understand that tastes change. And I don't know if it's right to say this Kanye saying from this song, but I love it so much. It's my favorite saying from Kanye ever. And it's that they say people in your life is seasons, and everything that happens is for a reason. You go through seasons, and people do. And so here's an example. Ariana Grande is someone who has been able to stay relevant for longer than 4 years because she is someone that has not stayed in the same space for too long. And if she has stayed in that same space, she has found ways to continue to stay relevant with innovating or collaborating. In my opinion, in my personal opinion, I think if you are able to innovate in a similar fashion to the way Ludwig does, I think you are someone who will find way more success and will feel much more fulfilled. I think if you are someone who is able to stay relevant because you are, decently funny, but also because of collaborations with people who are popular or up and comers, then I think while I think you won't fall off, I do not think you will be as happy or as fulfilled or as satisfied as someone like a Ludwig. People who are able to innovate and move away from something, even if it seems like it is successful, even if it seems like it is the thing that you're best known for, the thing that you are very popular with, it seems really stupid to turn away from something that gives you that "I'm doing well right now" and to be like, okay, I'm gonna do something else now. It seems dumb, but that is the way, and you have to find that balance of when to pull away and when to do something new and to leave the thing that is helping you win that bread. You have to figure out when's the right time to do it, and you have to be constantly aware of the time when something should come to a close and you should move on to the next thing. And it is a very direct opposite to what we talked about earlier, to where you need to be married to this idea or identity of who you are, and that's what you will be. What I wish would be taught to not only just content creators, but to human beings in general, is to become married to the idea and committed to the idea of adapting and recognizing when something has served its purpose in your life and to move on to the next thing. I think it would help people with closure. I think it would help people with adapting to change. I mean, obviously, forehead, if you're good at adapting to change, you're good at adapting to change. But a lot of times we reject and we resent the idea of change, whether it's a good idea or a bad one. And in life, a lot of times you are not going to be sitting there in the same comfortable thing that you've had for the rest of your life. I think any time that you can adapt to change better than other people, you'll find yourself being more successful. And that doesn't necessarily mean you'll get more numbers. You might, probably will. But my metric of success that I want to push, at least for this, is you'll be more content. You'll be more happy. When I think of these other content creators and the people that I've referenced here in this list, these are all people that have lasted for a really long time and were able to understand and innovate and or collaborate to continue to stay relevant. People who didn't just get stuck doing the same thing that they have always done and expected in the nature of content creation for people to always like what they produce, that they will stay there and like the same thing day in, day out. That's how people fall off. They stay the same, they don't go through the growing pains, and they just hope that the thing that made them popular is the thing that will keep them popular forever. And unfortunately, in content creation, it does not work that way. There are some exceptions to that rule, but even then, they don't completely divert. To end this whole thing, the people that are able to stay relevant and the people who are going to be more happy as content creators when the nature of the job is kind of pushing you to constantly not be, are the people who are able to not listen to the people and who ignore the "you fell off" plus L plus ratio, or to take those comments as a sign and realize that, hey, I switched it up, I'm doing a new thing, but I'm also doing this new thing the best that I can. And if content creation happens to be that thing that you and or other people, choose to be part of your living, if you don't want to experience that whole fall off plus L plus ratio thing, try to find a way to innovate yourself and try not to get married to this idea and identity of who you believe you are and what other people tell you are, and just be who you are choosing to be, and just make sure that there is a good reason why you're doing it. That's the "you fell off" plus L plus ratio plus the hood watches Linus tech tips for me specifically now.